Hey, is anybody out there? You guys hear me? Anybody there? Give me a thumbs up. Show me some love somewhere. I don't think anybody's out there. There, somebody just checked in. Lindsay. All right, my old Amtrak buddy. Georgie. All right. All right, we're getting a few people checked in. Hey, Sandra. How you doing, hon? Give old Jelly Belly a hug for me, will you? George, I see you, buddy. I'm going to get going here in a second. We'll let a couple other people get checked in. It's going to be a good night, man. I had fun last week. I hope you guys had fun. I had a good time. And I see Kenny. Crazy Kenny Belmont. What's up, brother? So, this is second time through on this. I did it last week, and everybody seemed to have a good time. I know I had a good time, and I got a lot of positive response. So a lot of people said they wanted to do this again, and I thought about it, and I'm like, man, we just scratched the surface last week with some of the stories. So much like last week, there'll be some picking and telling some stories from the road, and we'll have a cocktail together too. All right, so you know, speaking of which, before I tune this up, let's everybody out there get tuned up. What do you say? So I am gonna pour a cocktail, and hopefully you will too. Nice to take the edge off after a long day. So that's a good pour right there. That's not too bad. What do you think, Ryan? What do you think, brother? What's up? Now we gotta cut that a little bit, man. I'm not doing that. I've got my lovely assistant with me tonight. More on that here in a second. So, and you know, I don't know what you guys think, but for me, drinking out of a mason jar just makes it taste that much better. And being a mason just seems like the right thing to do. So, cheers, everybody. Happy Tuesday. If you've got one in your hand, it doesn't matter what it is. If you got apple juice or a cup of hot tea, whatever, man. Let's have some fun tonight and just have a good time. So cheers, everybody. Let's get this thing rolling. Once again, it's trucker style. So, before we get started, I got a shout out to someone very special to me. It's my lovely wife, Heather, and she's sitting over here off camera. But she's going to help me out here a little bit and probably go inside before too long. But we'll keep her out here as long as I can. And one thing I always like to say to you, hon, is... You know, she tolerates me. I love her so much. She knew me back in my wild days. And yet she still chose to marry me. So I got to give her credit for that, right? That's the understatement of the year, hon, right?
That's right.
So, anyway, who else is checking in here? Brad, what's up, buddy? Big Tony. Kalinka's in there. Kalinka's in the house. How about that?
Kalinka.
Yeah. So, what do we want to start with, man? I guess you know, getting tuned up. We got to get tuned up too, right? So, let's make sure this thing is tuned up. This is obviously one of my Telecasters, and in honor of Telecaster Tuesday. Cool story about this guitar real quick. It has a twin. So this is matching Strat and Tele. And I got these about 8 years ago. Let me check the neck date on that. 9 years ago. Been 9 years. And I got these, I special ordered them from Route 60 Music down in Barbersville, West Virginia. My good buddy Paul Calicote. So any of my musician buddies out there, you need a good shop to go to. Go see Paul at Route 60 Music. Always support local music, okay? So, you know, last week we told some stories, and I'm going to shut up here for a minute. And this is an old song that we used to play in a couple different bands. I'd really forgotten about it until my buddy Michael Lazinga reminded me about it. What's up, Zing? I hope you're out there. Doug Blakely just checked in. Blakely, Heather's sitting over here, man. She's laughing at you. Just show your hand. Give him a hand up.
Hi, Doug.
You can't see it. Stick it out there. There she is. All right, cool. So this is an old tune. It grooves, and I'll just pick through it a little bit, all right? It's called Born in Chicago. So that's basically the tune. You know, it's funny because Heather was telling me this week, she's like, why don't you sing a couple of songs? You know, and first of all, I can hear my brothers out there screaming, no, don't do it. Number one, I'm not a singer. I'm a shouter. Guys like Gene Richards and Willie Pooch, Linus Gatsby, they're your singers, okay? And the other thing about that, too, is I have to do one or the other. It's either play or speak or sing, which I can't do both. I don't know why. I read once that B.B. King was the same way, and not that I'm comparing myself to B.B. King in any way, because I'm not even worthy to carry that guy's guitar case. But that's how it is. Some people can finger pick and play and do all this cool stuff. I'm not that guy. So, but what I do, you know, is I try and hold down the rhythm. And like, I've always just wanted to be a good rhythm guitar player. And, you know, maybe find the right notes in there somewhere. So, you know, it's a struggle, man. It's a lifelong struggle. Much like last week, I was telling stories about different bands that I was in. I was telling stories about, you know, going back to the circuit breaker days with Gene Big Daddy Richards. Gene, you're guilty, bud. I love you, man. But it reminded me, we had a bass player in a band that smoked cigarettes, Mark, and I won't use his last name to protect the innocent. But Mark, he liked to smoke on stage. And I got in a hold of, you guys like the older folks out here, I think we're all pretty old, but you'll remember the cigarette loads. You guys remember those? They were like a gag thing. You stick them in the end of the cigarette. So when you go to light it, it blows the end off of the cigarette. And Big Chris was there that night. Chris, you put me up to this, you rascal. But somehow I got a hold of Mark's pack of cigarettes, and we stuck one down in the cigarette, and then I took and stuck another one. So we pushed that one down even further. And we're up on stage, and we finish songs, and Mark reaches over, and he lights a cigarette, right? And we just started the song, and this thing, boom, peels back. There's tobacco everywhere. Mark, everybody's laughing, fell out laughing. Mark doesn't know what to think. So he's thinking, all right, well, I don't want to waste this cigarette, you know, so I'll just go ahead and knock the end off of it and relight it. So he does, man. We're still going, and he lit this cigarette back up, and he's got it in his mouth, and took a big draw, and that thing blew up again on him. I thought the whole place was going to bust out. So it was pretty funny. The best part was afterwards, Mark, you know, like after the set, he went back to get a cigarette, and his hands, you know, were shaking like this. He couldn't light his cigarette. So the guy probably was never the same after that. But Mark, here's to you, bud. I know we're friends on Facebook. I don't know if you're tuned in tonight or not. But, hey, if you're not tuned in, at least get tuned up, all right? And, you know, that's kind of the beauty of this is last week it was like a virtual happy hour, right? I mean, old friends getting together and just sharing a drink. You know, with all this craziness that's going on, you know, we're locked down, man. And that's kind of cool that we can all get together, even if it's this format, that we can sit down and wherever we're at. I know, you know, Big Mikey, he's down in Huntington, and Tucker, I know you're out there somewhere. Big Chris, hopefully you're out there. He's he's technologically challenged, shall we say. But Chris, I hope you're tuned in, man. And it's just nice to have everybody together. So friends in Pittsburgh, Detroit, Chicago, South Bend, wherever you guys are. Got a bunch of friends in North Carolina. And that's a whole other story. I totally skipped over those guys last week. We want to touch on that. My buddies Chris Charles and Bart Williams, Billy Anthony, and my buddy Randy Jarvis, otherwise known as Hambone. And wait till I tell you about this guy. So anyway, I'm going to shut up and let's have one together, all right? Wherever you guys are at, hold your glass up, whatever it is, man. I don't care if it's ice water, lemonade. Cheers. Let's do it. Cheers. That's good stuff. So, can you guys hear the guitar? Okay, I kind of peeled it back a little bit. Probably up a little high on that, huh? All right, raise your hands. I could really kick that up if you want. So you guys can't see it on screen. I've got a tube screamer down here. It's peeled back, but it's just enough to give me a little punch. Not even sure if I'm going to use it tonight, but I thought, hey, what the heck. So I'm going to go back a little further, back even further than the circuit breakers. Back when I was in high school, we had a little band called Black Star. It was me, Vic Ward, Jim Phelan, Greg Lind, and John Umberzat. Johnny, I hope you're out there, man. We haven't played together in many, many moons. But we played at our high school talent show in 1983. And I'm showing my age. But I was just messing around today, and I thought, you know what? Do I still remember that? And we did this tune. See if you remember it. Oh, I hope you don't remember that one. My hands are cold. I'm struggling tonight, man. Hands are cold. Guitar's got old strings on them. But anyway, that man, I'm screwing this up bad. I'm going to stop on that. Anyway, you can tell how long it's been since I played that one, right? So moving forward, skipping past the circuit breakers, we had a band that was called Destination Blues. And I touched on that a little bit last week. And I mentioned Linus. I mentioned everybody in the band. But one thing I didn't say was, and maybe I did, I don't remember. But, Brad Butler and I are the only two original members of that band. We lost Linus, we lost Bobby Dale, and we lost Tim. And, makes you think, we're not going to be around here too long. Life is short, especially with all the craziness. So that's why we should take the time out to do stuff like this. I should take the time out to practice more guitar because that sucked. But Brad and I are the last two remaining members, and Brad and I have been chatting a little bit. And as soon as this is over, we're going to get together and we're gonna jam. Funny story about Brad. Brad and I reconnected a couple years ago, and he was telling me that he had auditioned for this band, or he was playing in a band. And Brad, I hope you don't mind me telling this story, but they fired him. And Brad told me that, and I thought, who in their right mind would fire Brad Butler? This guy is rock solid. I mean, like on the drum kit, he knows all kinds of styles. He's rock steady. He's a genuinely good dude. And I thought, man, you guys don't know what you're missing. And I just don't know who in the hell they hired, but they lost something with Brad. So Brad, I'm going to pick you up one of these days, man. And we're going to go and play some tunes. All right, Brad? So cheers, brother. So sitting out here in the garage because I'm remodeling the office, and it's trashed right now. So I figured I'd come out here, and the bad part about that is freaking chilly out tonight, right? And the guitar's going out of tune, my fingers aren't working right, I'm making all kinds of excuses, but we'll try and pick for you a little bit. I'm going to make sure this thing is in tune, and you guys should make sure that you're in tune as well. So we're pretty good there, all right? Try not to butcher this one. Another tune we used to do in a couple different bands is an old blues tune, and it's called Killin' Floor. And the bass line goes like this, and then after I do the bass line, I'll go in and play the guitar part real quick. I don't get tangled up here. But it goes like this. guitar goes. Back to the bass. You put those two together, and it's a killer groove, man. It is killer. And at some point down the road, when this is all over, we're going to put together a band, maybe a couple different bands. I don't know. I really want to get the guys from Blues Hammer back together up in Michigan. And, you know, except for the mayor, we lost the mayor, but he's always there with us in spirit. He's never too far. But it would be cool to do that. It would be cool to get Bad Juju back together. As a matter of fact, Bad Juju is getting back together. If and when this lifts, we're scheduled to do a reunion show at the end of next month, May 29th, at the, help me out, Kenny, is it the Smyrna Opera House? Excuse me, so that'll be myself, Kenny Belmont, Lynn Doughton, Spike Bryant on drums, killer drummer, and then Joey Fulkerson, George Dreisbach, and some of the members that kind of came through the doors with Bad Juju. And I was one of the original founders of that band with myself, Kenny, Jimmy Durham, and Len. So that'll be a lot of fun. We'll have a lot of different players there, and hopefully that doesn't get rescheduled, because I've been looking forward to that, and seeing all my old buds in Delaware and Pennsylvania, Eastern Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey, and I'm trying to talk some of my old railroad buds into coming out. Martac, Darius. I miss you guys, man, and I hope that hope you guys can make it out. So let's see who we got here. George. Yeah, thanks for the heads up on that. That's right. So cheers, everybody. I hope you guys are doing all right. Any requests besides put the guitar down and turn this thing off? Been one of those nights. What other kind of stories can I tell you guys here? Oh man, I got one for you. This is, I can't believe I forgot to tell this on these guys last week. Matter of fact, before I start, we have to have a little sip, all right? Because this is, and I hope you guys don't mind that I'm partaking here, because, you know, it's social hour, man, and we have to, you know, just get in the zone, man. So it's getting in tune and staying in tune. So, Blues Hammer. We were playing a gig at one time in somewhere in Michigan. What was the name of it? Was it Barnstormers, I think? It was an outdoor gig. It was summertime. It was hot. And the place is packed, man. I mean, just packed. And so my buddy, our buddy, Ryan Cornish, who is dialed in right now, had these guys that were there, buddies of his, and one guy had twisted his ankle or something, but he was on crutches, and they were at this table. And I said, dude, let me borrow those crutches. And we gave them to Ryan's other buddy. I said, dude, when I call you up, you know, just come on up. So anyway, we're doing a song, and my man comes up and walks up on his crutches, and we threw a chair down on the stage for him. So he sits down in his chair, and he's holding his crutches. And so these girls get up on stage, and they're dirty dancing, grinding on this guy. He's loving it. And I went into this whole spiel about being the Reverend T-Bone, all right? And it was like the old televangelists where they would heal people, and I you know, the power of the blues and all this garbage. And I hit the guy in the forehead and pushed him back a little bit, and I said, cast away your crutches and dance. And this guy got up and he threw his crutches down, and he got out on the dance floor just busting it up. And these chicks, these girls, they were upset, man. They thought that this dude was like down and out. But it was, that was one of the funniest things ever. So I know all the guys in Blues Hammer remember the night of Reverend T-Bone. And I'm sure a couple other people up that way remember too. So that was a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun in that band. God, where do I start? Donnie and I have been in the trenches, man, you know, with the Usual Suspects and Blues Hammer. He's my road dog. Donnie and I spent many nights together traveling on the roads after gigs, and couldn't ask for a better road dog. So Donnie, love you, brother. And speaking of that band, we were doing a gig up in Mackinac, up in northern Michigan. And Pete and I had flown in for the gig. This was pretty funny. So this was right after 9/11. This would have been like 2002 when like all the crazy stuff at the airport was going on. You couldn't drive around, and so my flight got in first, and then Pete's was coming in right behind me. And so the guys picked me up, and Ryan's got a camera stuck out the window because he's making this documentary, right? And so funny. So we keep circling around the terminal, waiting for Pete to be standing out on the curb, and all of a sudden, man, woo! The lights come on, we get pulled over, and it's a TSA. No offense, John Kalinka, but TSA pulled us over, and they're like, "What are you guys doing? We've noticed you're circling the airport with cameras. Are you doing surveillance?" and all this other garbage. We were scared to death, man, and I started talking out of the side of my mouth about being an airline employee, and they didn't want to hear it. So, you just never know, man. You can't make that stuff up, right? So, pretty crazy. Sounds like the guitar's losing a tune again. Not too bad. There it is right there. Okay, so I'm just going to shut up and try and play this thing for a minute. I like to groove some. Like I said, I'm not going to do any singing. That's the biggest favor I could do you guys tonight. But, just something like just good drinking music. Turn the lights down low. Have a little sip. If you got somebody next to you, give them a squeeze. Provided that they're okay with you giving them a squeeze. Don't go getting punched. But just something like this. Screwing around. Sorry, man, my nose is running tonight. I don't know what it is. I apologize. Just made me think of another story. And if you guys are getting sick of this, feel free to tune out, man. It is what it is. This is fun for me, and I hope it's fun for you. But many years after Blues Hammer, I was working for Amtrak, running trains up to New York. I was a student engineer, and I met this lady at Starbucks. We just started talking. We became friends. We had a lot of mutual things in common. She was into music, and we just became really good friends. Debbie Davis. And we stayed in touch over the years. And several years ago, I heard from Debbie, and she was engaged, and she was engaged to Gene Cornish. And if you guys know, that name probably rings a bell because Gene is the guitarist from the Young Rascals, and I know that you guys remember them. They're a Hall of Fame band, but they were getting together after a long hiatus, and they were out on tour. And Debbie called, and she's like, "Hey, man, you got to catch this tour. These guys they're awesome, and the tour is really well put together." And the dates never really worked out, and so finally, Donnie and I were talking back and forth. Donnie and Debbie became friends, and so we decided that the Rascals were going to play the Fox Theater in Detroit, and that's where we would go. So Cheese and I loaded up, and we drove up to Detroit, met Donnie, and then we went over to the Fox Theater and hooked up with Debbie. And Man, I can't say enough good things about Debbie. She laid the red carpet out for us. So sweet. She got us, you know, like just bitchin' seats right up front. But you know, the really cool thing about it is she took us backstage before the gig. So we went back and met the band. Gene, God, what a nice guy. You know, can't say enough good things about Gene Cornish. They had a couple of minutes before they had to get ready to go, and they had the curtains dropped on the stage. So Gene was like, "Yeah, come on down, man. I'll introduce you to some of the guys and show you my rig." And so we went down on the stage, and you know, he introduced us to his guitar tech and showed us all around, and you know, like the stage manager and the guy that's doing all the tricks and everything. And it was just really cool. Excuse me. It was just really cool, and we got just really a nice time. So the show, we went back to our seats, sat down, and it was a bitchin' show, man. Afterwards, you know, Debbie's like, "Okay, meet us over at the side door, and you'll come backstage again." And I thought, okay, cool. So Donnie and Cheese and I are hanging out. We're like, "Look, we don't want to be that guy, you know, or those guys that overextend their welcome, you know." So she takes us backstage. We go up to Gene's dressing room, and the guy was just so cool, you know, and we're like, you know, "Hey Gene, thanks for the hospitality, man. We're not gonna stick around. We're gonna get out of your hair and let you do your thing." And he's like, No, you guys hang out, man." He's like, "I want you here." He's like, "Give me just a second. I'm gonna change shoes. I want to hear what you thought about the show." And we're all kind of looking at each other like, "Okay, all right, cool." But we sat down and talked to Gene for like 15-20 minutes, and Debbie, and took pictures, and you know, we got to meet Dino and Eddie and Felix, and all those guys were really cool to us. But Gene especially, and never forgot that, never will forget it. After that, we left, and Cheese and Donnie and I went out. Cheese and I were staying at a Hampton Inn somewhere, and there was an Applebee's next door. So we went and had dinner, and that was cool. Donnie had to go, so he left, and that's when the party started. Cheese brought some Grey Goose, and he and I stayed up almost till dawn, drinking and listening to tunes and cutting up and calling everybody we knew. So that was a great night. But Gene, if you're out there, man, I wish you good health and longevity. And Debbie, thank you for the hospitality, and it was much appreciated. So Gene, this is for you. Just a little snippet, okay? Thanks, man. So if you guys get a chance, check out, I mean, everybody's heard the Rascals and their tunes, man. Like I said, they're Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame band, and they are Rock and Roll Hall of Fame A1 class act dudes. So thank you. I don't know, let's see, what can we get into here, man? So, got another story for you. First of all, I want to give some shout outs. I missed some people, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I missed some people last week. Barbara and Billy down in Leesville, South Carolina. Happy 30th anniversary. Hope you guys are doing all right. Say hi to Megan for me. That's my dear friend Michael Bowles' sister and her family. And man, they're like family to me too. Funny story, going down to Leesville one time, Mike took me down there for the Poultry Festival. And we were, I was making my famous hurricane recipe. Some of you know all about that, some of you would like to forget. But anyway, there was a nice older lady, southern lady there. I'm going to leave her name out of it, out of respect. But she was having fun with those hurricanes, and she had a bad knee. And I told her, you know, she was like, "Oh, I can't drink any more of those." I'm like, "Yes, you can. I'm putting WD-40 in it." And she thought I was crazy. There just happened to be a can of WD-40 in the kitchen. So I acted like I was making it, and she thought that was the funniest thing. Well, she got hammered. And so every time I talk to Mike or his sister or anybody down in Leesville, I tell them to tell her that I said hello and I've got a can of WD-40 waiting on her. So if you're out there, miss, you know who you are. I'm not going to say it out of respect. So, you know, I've been so lucky. You know, I've got so many friends that that I have known for so long. And, you know, we haven't seen each other in a long time. And I hate that. And I hope that we can all get together. You know, I'd alluded to some guys down in North Carolina a little while ago. My very good friend Chris Charles, who's a monster guitar player, and Bart Williams, another monster guitar player. We used to work together, and Billy Anthony, bass player, awesome. But we would sit around and jam, and we would throw things back and forth to each other. And those guys taught me some cool Southern stuff that. You know, I've worn slap out, man. And one of those was just, you know, it goes really well with this. And that is this really cool little thing right here. That's pretty simple, right? But there's a lot that you can do with that. It's just pretty, man. You can play that over so much stuff, and it's just wore out. Bart showed me that. I love that. I used to wear that out in Blues Hammer. I got to bring that back in, man. That's just some good stuff. So, Chris and Billy and Bart, you guys were a big part of where I'm at now musically, and I appreciate that. You know, there's another guy down there I got to mention, Randy Jarvis. I didn't know the guy's name for the longest time. I just knew him as Hambone. And this guy, do you guys know what a ham bone is? If you don't, Google it or go to YouTube. It's where, you know, like those old hillbilly guys would slap their legs and pat their chest and all that stuff. Ham bone's a master, okay? And that guy would have us all in stitches. He would be out and he would start doing that and making up these lyrics, these raunchy lyrics, hilarious. And that guy's got so much talent. Ham bone, I hope you're still doing that, man. You gotta send me a video. That's just the coolest. So. Anyway, Hambone, here's to you, buddy. Where'd my glass go? Oh, here it is. Damn, I gotta peel back. You guys doing all right out there? Cheers, everyone. Like I said, it's a little chilly out here in the garage tonight, but we'll get the office put back together and we'll put this stuff back in the office and make it more comfortable for all of us, especially me. A couple of little stories I wanted to tell you about. You know, let me see here. I got a couple notes that I had written down here. Big Chris, you know. Anybody that knows me should know Big Chris or the legend of Big Chris. This guy has, he's like a brother to me. He's my dear friend. We have traveled all over the country together. He's taught me, Chris taught me about the blues, and he continues to teach me about the blues. That guy's forgotten more than I'll ever know. But he's hilarious. He's an artist. Unfortunately, I'm usually the butt of all of his comics, and we've had some adventures. So, Chris, I miss you, dude. I love you, and you know, here, this is for you and Cheese and Donnie and Greg. See if you guys know this. That's an inside joke with us, and I'll tell you that one at a later date. So, anyway, you guys making out all right in this coronavirus? I know it's serious stuff. Trying to give you guys a little bit of relief from it. We're doing okay. You know, the worst part, you know, and this is not in all seriousness. I mean, for me, this is nothing. But the worst part is I got this shaggy mop up here, man. You know, like my hair is so long. I usually go like 2 weeks to get a haircut, and it's been 6. So we're getting through it. If that's the worst thing that happens, man, I can't complain. So what else? I guess we're going to keep this one a short one tonight. I know I went about an hour last week, and we'll probably, you know, shorten that up a little bit. But, you know, this is fun for me. I hope it's fun for you guys. I hope that it's enough that I'm not boring you guys. We're keeping you entertained. It's been a journey for me, and it's just a hell of a lot of fun. So, you know, one thing too I wanted to tell you guys is when we get past all this stuff, I hung the guitars up for a while. Obviously, you can tell that, but I want to go back out and play live. I want to get out in front of an audience with a band, a hard hitting band. Brad and Donnie and Kenny. You know, I've always liked big bands. I just want to be the rhythm guitar player back in the shadows, man. I love a band that can cut a groove, and with my brother Cheeseburger on the B3 organ, and Donnie, you know, and Brad, I'd like to get you playing with these guys because it's just a circus. But anyway, man, like I said last week, I've always surrounded myself with musicians that are better than me, and it brings your game up. So it's just cool, man. I've had a lot of fun. I continue to have fun. Life is very short. Enjoy yourself, right? That's what I'm doing tonight. I'm drinking with my friends. Anybody doing shots? Anybody out there doing shots? Are we too old for that? Man, I very rarely do I do shots anymore, unless I'm with my bud Terry Neese. Terry is one of my pledge brothers from my fraternity, Sigma Chi's. So to all my Sigma Chi brothers out there, in Hoke, love you guys, man. And B-Secker, I missed you and Smitty last week. I hope you guys are tuned in and tuned up with me now. So, cheers, brothers. And that reminds me of a story. Imagine that. So, as many of you know, I'm also a member of the Masonic Lodge. I joined the lodge about 10 years ago in Delaware. And my coach in the lodge was this really cool guy named Scott Lingle. And Scott passed away a couple of years ago. And I miss him dearly. But Scott, he was a hell of a lot of fun, man. Scott wasn't dealt a very good hand. He was quadriplegic. And he was in a chair, and he had a service animal. His dog was Roca, little bastard. I loved him. But I started taking Scott to my gigs in Delaware with Bad Juju, and I would load Scott. He had a van with a lift on the side, and it was quite an ordeal to get Scott ready and to get him loaded into the van. He would get loaded himself, but it was an undertaking, and I did it with pride because it was getting Scott out of the house, and we were hanging out, and it was just really cool. But Scott was my buddy, man, and one particular night, Kenny, I know you know this story. We were playing at, I think it was, what was it, VFW or something. Place is packed, man. Band's kicking. And Scott, for some reason, always had girls hanging all over him. Like, I shouldn't say for some reason, because he was a really cool dude. But he was limited, you know, he was in a chair. But he would get out on the dance floor, and he would wheel around and dance. And this one particular night, he had 2 girls dancing with him, and one of them sat on his lap in the chair. And Scott's having a ball, man. He's had a couple of drinks already, and he had and we're up on the bandstand playing, and we didn't have an elevated stage or a rise or anything. We were just playing on the floor, and so this girl's sitting on Scott's lap, and they're wheeling around the dance floor. Well, all of a sudden, Scott starts coming towards the band, and he's got his head down. You know, he's got his game face on, and I'm like, Scotty, what are you doing? He just kept rolling, and he crashes into the drum set, and he's like knocking stuff over. And we're like, what? I put my guitar down, and I'm like, I look at Scott thinking like he's traumatized, and he is laughing so hard that he's crying because this girl who shall remain nameless, Gina, had hit the joystick on his controller on his chair and somehow put the thing into high gear, and it got stuck. And Scott was just like out of control, knocking stuff over, hitting people. And so me, like an idiot, I grabbed the back of his chair thinking that I'm going to stop him, right? And I grabbed the back of Scott's wheelchair. Well, the wheels keep going because it's a motorized chair. Scott starts rolling backwards, and he's like, put me down, put me down. I'm like, oh shit. So I laid him down, and he's crying, laughing. And finally, I got the thing turned off after he'd knocked down like the toms, the kick, snare, like all the cymbals. It was a rack mount, but he still like tore through it. It was hilarious. So I get Scott settled down. We go outside, and there was a ramp going out. That's where people went to smoke and hang out. And neither one of us smoked, but we went out to get some fresh air. Imagine that, where the smokers are. Scott's chair gets turned off again, so now it's in neutral, and he's going downhill, and he can't stop it, and he's screaming like a little schoolgirl. Hits the curb, right? This is a heavy chair, too. The thing starts rolling over, and then it comes back and like just stops, and Scott was crying. Can't make this stuff up, man. So, Scotty, my brother, cheers to you, man. So, gosh, I hope I'm not leaving anybody out, but you know what? There's always another episode, right? And guys, if I want to ask a favor of you. Number one, if you know, like, you guys have any good memories of stuff that you've done with me or in the band, let me know about them. You know, I love hearing that stuff. If you have like one of my old guitar picks, you know, I don't know if you can see that or not. If you have one of the old picks, I used to throw those out. I had a story one time where a little kid, it couldn't have been more than like 3 or 4 years old. I gave him a guitar pick at an outdoor gig. It was a festival. And gosh, about 7 or 8 years later, this lady came up to me, and she's like, hey, she's like, do you have a second? I'm like, yeah, sure, what's up? She's like, you probably don't remember me, but many years ago, you gave my son a guitar pick, and he went home and slept with it, like he wouldn't leave it alone. And I thought, wow, man, what do you say, man? I mean, that is just, to me, that's as good as it gets, right? A little kid, you know, holding on to your guitar pick. And then she went on to say that he wanted to learn how to play guitar, and he learned how to play, and he's here today somewhere running around. So later on, she brought this kid back, and, you know, he's like this tall now. He's like, yeah, I still have your pick, man. I'm learning how to play. And I just thought, man, that's cool. So if you guys have any cool stories like that, or send me a picture of a pick, you know, or a t-shirt or a sticker. I'd love that, man. If you got any cool pictures of any of the old bands, Black Star, you guys might have seen the picture that I threw up on my Facebook page today. It was an old black and white. I was playing my old Gibson Flying V, and I was wearing a referee shirt, and that was Dave Wiener's shirt. Dave was my physics teacher in high school, and just super nice guy. So thanks for the shirt, Dave. Timmy Henthorne took that picture. But if you guys have any old pictures, whether it's Black Star, the Circuit Breakers, Destination Blues, The Usual Suspects, Bad Juju, any of that stuff, man, I would love, love, love to see it and hear about it. So that'd be cool. So thank you for that. I guess I'm going to wrap things up here. It's already been 45 minutes. I'm sure I'm boring you guys to death. But I'm having fun, and, you know, I guess it's about this time. Anybody want to join me? I'm going to refill. You guys want to top off? I'm down for it. Mike Conway, I see you out there, buddy. How are you? Can't wait to hear about that new guitar. So, anyway, I don't do this very often, but it is nice to have a cocktail and relax, especially knowing that my friends are out there. I really wish we could all be together, but we will soon. Let's make a pact. Like I said, let's hang out, man. Let's make the effort. Here's my commitment to you, okay? Wherever you are, I'll come and see you. All right, if you want to hang out, I don't care if you're in California, or Washington. I don't care where you are. If you want to hang out, I will come to you. Let's make it happen, man. Life is short. Time slips away. I don't know how it is for you guys, but time gets away from me. You know, you look back and you say, oh, that was only like a couple years ago. No, it wasn't. It was like 15 years ago. So let's recognize that we're all dealt a small amount of time. Let's make the best of it, all right? Be good to people, you know. I'm not going to preach to you guys. Just take care of each other, man. We got enough jerks in the world. We don't need another one. Buy somebody a drink. You know, let somebody out in traffic. Pay their bill at Starbucks. You know, if you got somebody behind you, just pick up their tab, man. It doesn't cost much. It's the right thing to do. And if each one of us does that, it's infectious. Just like some of this other garbage that is infectious. Good things are infectious too. So let's do some good stuff, man. And see if that doesn't spread. So with that, I'm topped off. Whew, not much ice left, but cheers, guys. I guess I should pluck on this thing a little bit. I'm not real happy with my playing tonight, but like I said, it's chilly out here. I'll peel the volume back on that a little bit, all right? All over the place tonight, but having a ball doing it. That sound familiar? All right, well, I think that's going to be it for tonight. I have embarrassed myself enough, and maybe we'll do it again next week. If you guys are up for it, let me know. We'll put something together. There's still plenty of stories to tell, and hopefully by next week I'll be moved back inside, so I'm not out here in the garage. But what do you want to hear, man? You guys, like for next week, you want me to bust out another Strat? Keep up with the telly? What do you guys tell me what you want? I'm taking requests. Even like, I'm sure the most popular request is going to be, hey man, don't play next week. Just take a break, okay? All right, guys. That's going to be it for me. Put that thing down. Find my drink. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for tuning up. You guys are my dear friends and my family, and I hope I get to see you all soon. So, cheers, everybody. Good night. Adios, muchachos. There we go. Still can't get this thing.